Hello and welcome to another episode of Ken Training, where we want to give you, the YouTube audience, the training that you need to tackle jobs like this one on your own. Today's job is going to be adding an electrical receptacle. So what happened is that we are on the first level of my house. I had a water leak on the second level of the house, and the water came in through the closet here, and I'll show you inside the closet in a second. And I had to open up the drywall to allow the inside of the wall cavity to dry out properly. And the wall is now dry. I've got my moisture meter here, where I was able to determine that the entire wall is dry all the way around. And you can check out my channel if you want to see the full video about this water leak. But now that I've got the wall opened, I've always wanted an outlet over here. Let me show you the particulars. Okay, so here's the closet right here. There's a common area restroom on the first level, and I've always wanted an outlet right there to plug the vacuum cleaner into, and they've never had one. And here inside the closet, I have the doorbell, and I can see a power line right there. That's the one I'm going to tap off of. I can see it goes up right there and goes to somewhere on the second level. But what we want to do is we want to intercept this at this junction box, come up here, we have to make a turn, go through the stud there, we have to make another turn there, come down. Now you do see a line here. There is a cable right there for power, Romex, but that's for this light switch, and I actually installed that, and I know that there's no neutral in this switch. This is just intercepting the hot, and it's running back on a hot leg to interrupt this light switch over here. So I wish I'd have run a neutral into here, because then I could have paralleled off of this and just went down, but I know I didn't do it. So now that we're at this stage, so when we're coming around, we come over to here, we're just coming to this wall cavity. We're just going to come down, and we're just going to go poke through the wall right there. So the first thing I want to do is I want to determine, I've already measured it out. I know I need 15 feet of Romex cable to make the entire run. What it looks like, this is 14 gauge wire here, right there, but I want to confirm what breaker this is connected to before I move on and see what the amperage is. The electrician who installed this did not label this, and he didn't label the panel or anything, so we need to figure this out. So we are now going to use the circuit breaker finder on how to figure out what breaker actually is feeding the doorbell, and we can test it just by running the doorbell. So what we need to do is we need to plug this in, but because you can't plug it in because it's not a receptacle, they hardwired into the doorbell, we have to use these jumper cables. So we're going to do this right now. By the way, I should mention that when I do this work, I am going to be wearing some safety gloves. I have some safety glasses, and plus I've been doing this for a little while. If you don't know what you're doing with electricity, don't attempt this job, because this stuff can kill you if you don't work with it properly. So I got one jumper wire on the ground wire. The other jumper wire is on the hot wire, so that's a hot connection right there that we do not want to touch. You'll see my tracer here is got the red light on, so it's telling me it's on. So when you turn this on, this button right here, you see how this thing beeps? So we're going to go to the panel right now and figure out exactly what this is doing. Okay, we're at the panel, and you can see I have every single breaker labeled, so once I figure this out, I can actually label it with the breaker number, because they're all numbered on my end. And now I'm going to turn on the circuit breaker finder, and the way that the tool works is you start at the top, work your way down, then start at the top again, work your way down. Okay, now it looks like it's going to be number 25, and what you do is you stop here on 25, shut that off. And that is a 15 amp breaker. You can see that right there. 25 is 15. Let's go see if the door, well actually yeah, let's go inside and see if the light is on. Alright, so we're back at the closet. The light is off. We can try the doorbell, see if the doorbell works. Come out here. Push the button. Yeah, now we got it. It's number 25. Alright, now 25 is labeled lights over here, so it's on the lighting circuit, but it's the only line that I want to grab because it's the closest one for me to grab, so I'm going to go ahead and utilize it for that convenience receptacle. Now because it's a 15 amp, now I know that I can run 14 gauge wire to this circuit and still be safe and within code. If it was a 20 amp, like this one is labeled 20 amp right here, number 23, if it was a 20 amp circuit, we would be running 12 gauge wire to the receptacle. But in our case it's a 15 amp, so we're going to run 14 gauge wire. Alright, so basically I just put the wire nuts back on for now, and now I've labeled this as number 25 because that's the breaker that is on this this line right here. Number 25 is the one feeding into the circuit, feeding into the junction box. We got our support staff here helping us. There's one, and there's the other one. Okay, so we got our material list, which is actually very, very simple. All we have to do is get 15 feet of Romex 14 AWG 14.2, bring it up, bring it over, bring it down, and we need one junction box, and then we're going to get a receptacle and a cover plate. We'll go with Decora because this is the Decora style. Right above it, a light switch, so it'll all match. So that's basically the material list. Now what we want to do is we want to see how difficult it's going to be to run the Romex around this corner and around this corner. That'll be the hardest part. Going through the studs like this and that stud there, that's easy. Let's see if we can do the corners. So I've got my drill right here all set up with a 7/8 inch spade bit, and we're going to see if we can't go through that corner right now. Alright, so I want to show you how I did this. So you can see I drilled the hole there, and at just about the same elevation I drilled the hole on this side. Made sure that I had daylight going through. Then what I used was some spare number 12 wire here, and I made a little couple of hooks, and so I was feeding in on this side over here. I'll show you. I was feeding this way with one hook, feeding this way with the other hook, and trying to catch the two hooks, like you can see, and then finally I caught them, and then I just brought it through. So now when I release this one here, come on, now all I can do, now I have the choice. I can put a hook on this side and pull it through that way. I can attach my wire onto here and bring it through this way. So I have a choice on whatever I want to do. But for now, because I don't have anything here, I'm just going to leave that there. And I have to get another piece of this wire here, and I still got a drill on this side over here. It's a little bit of a pain in the butt. Okay, I want to show you that we've got a clear path of travel. We've got our holes bored out here. This hole is bored out right there. We've got this line going across. There's my catch point. There's that bored hole. Once we're into this cavity over here, then we can come down and bring it right over to here. I've already gone shopping to the Home Depot, and I've got the Decora receptacle. I went with a tamper resistant faceplate. Here is 14.2 in order to take care of the wiring. We got 15 feet that comes in a bundled roll. Oh, and here's the junction box that I want to use for the receptacle. I went with a new construction box because I have access to the stud from behind. What else? Oh, by the way, all these products were like about $16. I also bought a spade bit so I could drill out those bored holes easier. That was just, my other one was duller than dull, and it was taking too long. Now, I want to show you something here on these holes that I drilled here. So this here is 7/8 of an inch right there, and you'll notice that it's right in the middle of the stud. And when you look at that with the tape measure, okay, using the tape measure to capture that, it looks like we're about 1.25 from the edge of the bored hole to here. And that's important because the screws that I have for this job are number 6 screws that are 1.25. The drywall is 1/2 inch in the drywall. So with 1/2 inch and 1.25 screws, we're going to penetrate into the stud 3/4 inch. We're 1.25 inches between here and the edge here. So the point is that we do not need, if we with a 1.25 inch fastener, and we could use either these or even 1.25 inch nails, either one. Even if we went with actually 1.5 inch nails here, that would still be fine, because with you're going to lose 1/2 inch here, and you're only going to penetrate here 1 inch, and this is 1.25. So with this process, I'm safe using 1.5 inch nails or 1.5 inch screws. And with 1.25 screws, we're not going to have an issue at all with the drywall, with touching our fastener. So we don't need a plate right here is the point. This here is a Code Check 2nd edition, and it has a bunch of different subject matter here. But when we come over to the building section and we look at what the code says in regards to holes and notching into studs, the maximum size that you can go is 40% on a bearing wall, and 60%. There's an exception for like right here. You can read what that exception is, but generally speaking, I wouldn't want to exceed 40, and we're not even at 40. Also, there's one other exception. Not exactly an exception, but there's one other code requirement, is what I should say. The bored hole must be a minimum of 5/8 of an inch from the face of the stud. This is so that you don't hit the wire, the electrical wire in my case, with the nail of the screw. So that's why they have specific fastener sizes, and that's what I went through that math to show you that I'm not going to have an issue. I will not need a plate because we're more than 5/8. We're 1.25 inches from the face of the stud to the bored hole. All right, now what we need to do is we need to prep this in order for the wire to get pulled through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out the ground wire, which is the center wire here in the bundle. And I'm just going to create a little bit of a, what's the word I'm looking for here? I'm looking to pull the sheathing apart a little bit so I can gain access to this here. So I'm just ripping that out just a little bit there so I can get that opened up. Now that that's opened up there, what I'm going to do is I want to trim back a little bit of everything. Not too much. I don't want to be too hasty here with what I'm working with, because I want to leave as much on there as possible. Okay, that should be good. Now we're going to use this as our wire to capture everything on. So let me do that right now. All right, so here is how I have my wire attached. You see I've joined the two together and then I curled them back. Now I'm going to take some black electrical tape and put it here. All right, here it is here attached. I'm not going to be able to get you on this camera because there's no way I'm going to be able to use both hands and use the camera at the same time, and I'm a one-man show. So basically I'm just going to pull through here now, but basically the plan is just pull it through, go through here, connect on here, pull it through into here, and just keep moving. All right, so here's those lines that I had to pull that through. There's the cable here. You can see, get the light. You can see that we're through the wall, there, all the way around, there. We're inside the cavity here, and then down to there. So 15 feet of wire is just enough wire, with like absolutely no wire to spare for this project. So the next step I'm going to do is I want to get my box mounted over here and start building this project from here. And then the last thing I'll do is shut the power off and do the tie-in over here. So my outlet is going over there. This outlet is in the same room, so what I'm going to do is measure from the above the finished floor to the center of the outlet, and then whatever distance that is going to be the height that I do my outlet as. So let me figure this out. Alright, right there's the height. It looks like the center of this outlet is about 10 inches. So that's the center of our outlet. Okay, so let me explain what I did. I measured 10 inches up from above the finished floor. Then I put a mark on the inside of the drywall. Then I drove my drywall saw directly through the wall. Then I know that is, I can measure 10 inches from here, so I'll get the exact height here. But I know that that's exactly where the stud rests. The stud is resting exactly right here. So I can come on this side, measure it out, and then figure out my hole opening. Because this is a new construction box, it's sold with this wing here, but I don't want to do any drywall patch and paint on this side, so I'm going to end up breaking this wing off and then putting the box in just like this. Then if I need some additional support, I'll put a strap on the inside here, on the inside of the drywall, if I need some additional support, because that way it'll alleviate me from doing a drywall patch and paint. I ended up using a hacksaw in order to cut this off of here, so that's all taken care of now. We just have to get that hole cut out right there. Alright, the next thing that we want to do is we want to get this box inside the wall there, but we're going to be on the back side and we're trying to determine the depth from the drywall. Now what we want is, we don't want the box to be proud, which would be sitting out like this, and we don't want it to be so shallow. If it's more than 1/4 of an inch, it'd be outside of code. What we want is it to be just slightly recessed from the wall opening, so this way when we put our electrical outlet, we want it to, I guess ideally you want it to be just about flush, but you want it to have a nice tight fit, so you want to be just slightly recessed is what you're looking for. So what we're going to do is, we have a black Sharpie here, and we're going to take this, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this piece of drywall, make sure it's got a slight recess to it. Actually, I'll turn it around to make the smooth edge where I'm going to do the black Sharpie. And then what I'm going to do is just put a mark like that. And I'll do that all around, so when we're on the back side, we know exactly how much to set the box. And I'll show you that once we get to inside the closet. Okay, so we're inside the closet now. We're going to take our box, put it in here, and we're going to see the black line that I put there with the black Sharpie. And let me just double check with my actually it looks like by going just back to the back of this stud here, it looks like it's going to line up just perfectly. So what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to line that up to the back of the stud, tap that in just to hold it in place while I do this. Okay, now let's check the other side and see how that looks with the reveal. And that reveal looks absolutely perfect. It is just slightly recessed, going right flush back. So this box is actually huge. I have so much fill capacity in here, it's amazing. Alright, so let's go ahead and set the box. Okay, so now we got to feed the cable down. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to just open up the prongs a little bit here to make sure that I can feed my cable in without it being a problem. Alright, so here's the cable. We'll set the staples afterwards, but for right now, I just want to get this down there, and we'll work on this on the other side. Okay, the code says that we need to stick out from the box a minimum of 3 inches, so we want to be at least 3 inches outside of the box, and as you can see here, we're just about 4 inches outside of the box. I could even come just a little bit more, just to make sure that there's not an issue. Okay, so now we want to get our receptacle going in here. So let's get this going. And now the first thing that we want to do is we want to get that neutral wire. And let me get my needle nose pliers is the way I like to do this. Alright, so I get my ground wire and I pull back the insulation like this. And I'm going to bring that back, which rips the jacket. Hold on. Like this. And again, the code states that we have to be at least 3 inches beyond the box. The gap here cannot be greater than, I think it's 1/8 of an inch. And I'm not sure what other code requirements there are here. Alright, now when we put this in the wall, we want to be able to see at least 1/2 of an inch of this sheathing that I'm cutting off. So I'll show you that in a second. But we want a little bit of this to be visible. Okay, now we're going to attach our hot and neutral leads to the receptacle. And I'm going to go ahead and just strip that back just a hair more. Okay, and we want it to follow the screw terminal. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn it like this. Then when we put that on, like so, it's black on brass, so we know that this is the hot leg. It goes just like that. Now we'll go ahead and screw that on, and we know that that is not going anywhere. And just cinch that up, so that takes care of the hot leg. Flip the receptacle over, loosen this terminal up, and we'll put the neutral on right now, and we won't have any issue. Let me just strip back a little bit more of that insulation and go ahead and turn that. Make sure that's just right. Make sure that goes in the direction that the screw tightens, which is just like that. And I'm just going to go ahead and cinch that up before I do the screw, before I tighten it down. Make sure I'm good and tight there. Hold on. There we go. Okay, let me loop that, get in there. And then, while keeping that taut, which is a little challenging, there we go. I just want to get that screw in there nice and taut. Alright, then I keep a little pressure here while I tighten that up. Let's see if I can't get that a little bit better. I think that's all I'm going to get out of that. Alright, let's make sure that's good. Yeah. Okay, see how that screw tightens up as I tighten up everything? Now I want this to go in like this. So now that we have everything all the way that I want it, and we're easily out more than 3 inches beyond the beyond this, what I like to do is fold my wires back, so I'll push on the bottom, come up, and like an accordion, push it down into position. Then we'll go ahead and set the receptacle in the box. And let's go here. Alright, try to get everything nice and straight. And lower my torque setting so I don't strip anything out. Okay, and then we'll just tighten the rest by hand. Make sure we're good. Alright, this should be like 100%. Since we're right here, we'll go ahead and put on the cover plate. Make sure everything fits nice and good. It's a nice looking box, isn't it? Okay, so now we want to do our tie-in. We still have to shut power off here, but I'll just go ahead and get this ready. So trim inside of here. Got to find our neutral wire so we can strip this back. This is the neutral wire here. It's always the one in the middle. Okay, and we'll just grab that while holding the sheathing. Hold up, didn't grab it. Hold on, there it is. Okay, there it is, right there. Okay. There we go. Now, I just want to trim that back a little bit. Here, and here. And then we can start to do this tie-in. Okay, we're looking good. I'll go ahead and trim this, which right about there should be fine. Make sure it's nice and straight. And there we go, right about there. Same with the neutral, right about there. And let's get some wire nuts. So for the grounds, this yellow should be good. Possibly even an orange would be fine. This is fine. Okay, we're in there nice and tight on the grounds. Now we got to kill circuit number 25. I'll go to the breaker panel and kill it. There's number 25 right there. Let's go inside and see if it's off. First thing we'll do is we'll try the doorbell. Okay, no doorbell. The probabilities are very high that the breaker is off. What we can do is we can grab our meter and we can do one more check, which is the NCV. And you push that button right there and see if anything's live here. And we're not live, we're totally good. So put that apart. Now we can do our tie-in. Okay, so we're going to use yellow wire nuts for this connection. We'll start off with the neutral. So I'm going to pull out my orange and I'm going to join everything together here. Now this neutral is a little proud, but that's okay compared to the other ones. Just pull that back slightly and get that in there. It's not grabbing, hold on. That didn't grab properly. Loosen that back up. Alright, now let's try that again. So what we're going to do is we're going to take all these lines, put them 100% parallel and flush. I'll show you what I mean. Like that. Now this one here is a stranded as opposed to a solid. So the stranded I push a little proud of the solid wires. So kind of like this. Alright, hold up. It's got to be just right. Okay. That should grab everything. So now let's try that again. You know what? The yellow's not grabbing. Let's switch over to orange. Give that a go. The problem is that I'm still too proud on mine. So let me do this. I'm going to trim this one slightly. There. And let's try that again with orange. I want it to be just right. Alright, we're going to test everything out, make sure we're good. Okay, now I'm going to pull individual wires here and make sure we're nice and tight, and we are. So we have a good, very solid neutral connection. Now let's go over to the hot. Same thing. We're going to, basically I'll trim that out slightly like I did the other one. Okay, now let's try to go for the hot. Everything's parallel. I'm going to go with the orange. Oops. I'm not getting a good bond there. I can't tell. I might have a compromised orange here. I don't know. Alright, there it goes. Alright, make sure we're in there nice and tight. I'm going to pull the individual wires. And it actually feels good. Everything feels like I've got nice solid connections. So now that I've got all that, I'm going to bury all my wires back in here so I can button this up. There we go. And now, pretty much that's it. Okay, all I have to do is tighten these screws up, but I don't need the breaker on to do that. I mean the breaker off to do that, because I can tighten that up with the breaker on. I can't really put a staple in here because the wire is I've got drywall here and stuff, so I'm going to not put a staple there. I'm not going to put any staples here. No staples here, no staples here. Now let's go down, and here I can put a staple. So this is the staple that I'm going to use, which is rated for the non-metallic half-inch insulated staple. And I think the code says it has to be within 8 inches of the box. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a staple here, bring this in just so it's not exactly right against the drywall in case the screw goes over, kind of like this, and staple that in. Okay, so there's my one staple for the project that I'm going to do. Now let's go turn the breaker on and see how everything looks. Okay, now we're going to turn on breaker number 25. There we go. Now let's go inside and see what that looks like. Okay, everything inside here looks fine, as it should. Nothing smoking, which is a good sign. We have our receptacle here, and whenever I put in a brand new receptacle, I always put in my receptacle tester, and that tells us right there that we've got 2 amber lights, which according to the chart tells you that two amber lights is correct. So this is properly wired, and just for the hell of it, we'll just put it on the top and everything is good. So this is 100% good. Alright, I have one of these Ideal wire marking booklets, and because I installed this receptacle, I know that I had to work on breaker number 25 and shut that off, so I've labeled the receptacle faceplate here at number 25 just to make it easier for me, so I don't need the circuit breaker finder in the future if I ever have to touch this outlet again. We got our support staff right over here helping us with this project. Where are you going? Okay, that is going to conclude this video on how to install an electrical outlet if you needed to install one. So please subscribe to my channel, Ken Training. If you want to see the complete episode on how I put this closet back together, please go ahead and check out my channel. I'll see if I can leave links for it also in the description. Please don't forget, hit that like button and leave some comments about your projects. We want to hear about them. That's it. I will see you on the flip side.